Diabetes is an offspring of hereditary habits. Hey, you guys, it's Coach Taylor here with Taylor Training Podcast, where we'll be discussing any and everything related to health and wellness. Today, we're going to be discussing hereditary genetic factors versus hereditary habits. First and foremost, what does hereditary mean? Hereditary is defined as a title, office, or right conferred by the base of inheritance. It is also defined as holding a position by inheritance, as well as being determined by genetic factors, which is the ability to be passed down from parent to offspring or descendants. Now, inheritance has been mentioned a couple times, so let's look at that definition. Inheritance is a noun, so it's the action of inheriting. It is to be appointed as her, to receive, to be the her. So, in my opinion, hereditary doesn't just mean through DNA or genetics. In order for something to be hereditary, there's an accepted reception, whether it be intentional will or by force, or out of our control in general. So what is a genetic factor? Since it's two words, let's look at both words. Genetic is Greek, meaning origin, generation, or race. It is the properties or features of an organism. Factor is French, meaning circumstances, fact, or influence that contributes to a result or outcome. Doer, maker, performer, done or made. Okay, now let's look at the opposition of genetic factors. So what is a habit? A habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up, or a long, loose garment worn by a member of a religious or congregation. Didn't know that. That is an interesting fact. It is Latin, meaning condition, burn, state, appearance, dress, attire. Habio, I have, hold, and keep. Now, the reason I'm discussing this topic is due to a conversation about feet. Yes, that's right, feet. Especially bunions. I know a lot of people with some bunions out here in the world. Trust me, I'm not a foot person. I don't have a foot fetish whatsoever. But I know several people with some bunions. It was brought to my attention because a client is concerned that they may be developing a bunion similar to one of their parents. If you're not familiar with a bunion, it's where the big toe starts to push into the second toe. So that big toe is giving that second toe some love. Lean on me. In most cases, a bunion is due to prolonged pressure, and it appears at the second metatarsal of the hallucis, aka the big toe. The way my client presented their information, in my opinion, they were thinking it's due to genetic factors, those things that we don't have control over, such as skin color, eye color, the width of our nose, the width of our eyes, the size of a nose, the shape of our head, or the structure or shape of our foot. Those factors are things we have no control over, right? So in this case, if it was something like that, I would consider it to be a hereditary genetic factor. Something passed down in the DNA, our genetic pool that we don't have control or say as to which we get. But I don't think it was that in this case, right? Similar to diet, children pick up on gait patterns. When we're learning to walk, we learn how to walk because we're observing the people around us, like our parents, a relative, Everywhere you look and there's a child, they're watching an adult, right? So, like diet, gait patterns are developed due to habits. For instance, let's say you have a shoe that you love, but it's too small for you. I've had many of these in my days. More than likely, you will have the tendency to ball your feet up. Scrunch those feet up like a fist just to fit the shoe. Now, over time, that's going to affect how you walk. Or something that I'm trying to get away from is wearing tight, narrow shoes and socks because they affect the spread of the feet, and it causes the toes to bunch up, which can result in pressuring the big toe to lean into the other toes, the cause of bunions in most cases, right? Now, I can say the same thing for diabetes, especially in the Black community. I recently had a disagreement with my father because he's diabetic, and come to find out, several, if not all of his siblings are diabetic in some shape or form as well. And if I'm not mistaken, his mother and father were too. And I don't think I'm out of the woods. The apple don't fall far from the tree. But I'm working to change my eating habits. I've come a long way from eating the traditional Southern meals, Black household meals, like where it's Thanksgiving every single day or at least once a week, on Sundays. The mac and cheese, baked mac and cheese at that, real extra gooey. You gotta have that cheese stretch, smothered pork chops, greens with a fat back, deep fried chicken with the extra crispy skin, yam so sweet it's like dessert. Am I making you hungry yet? Because I know my stomach is reminiscing. These juices don't cut it. I'm serious. What about the rack of ribs so tender the meat falls off the bone? That barbecue sauce so juicy it make you want to slap your mama? That broth worth that oozes in your mouth after the first bite? You know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm done. I'm over here making myself hungry. Somebody send me a kale juice so I can make up for it, so I can get my mind back right. Please, send me a blessing. But to my point, a child doesn't come out the womb knowing to eat those kinds of foods. When we're exposed to those foods, that's when the habit starts to form. You like, ooh, this tastes good. I'm happy. You start getting all those different kind of feelings related to food. And you like, I want more. I'm not going to be satisfied until, I have, it tastes like this. When you start to compare, you go over your friend's house and you have their baked macaroni and cheese. But you like, nah, this is okay, but it ain't like my grandmama's. That type of stuff. I know several parents are going to disagree with me on this one, right? But in my opinion, we condition our children to eat chicken nuggets and French fries. I've seen and come across a lot of different posts, and they're like, oh, my baby, all they want is chicken nuggets and French fries. That's the only thing they gonna eat. Especially when, like, they're in that toddler stage. And then, and then we start wondering why our kid doesn't want to eat when we cook, because we've conditioned them to eat chicken nuggets and French fries. Now, hear me out. How often do we challenge not only our children, but ourselves to open their palate to something new? Better yet, how often do we cook at home? We so often go for what's convenient instead of what's best. I'm guilty of this myself. Straight up, both personally and when I've spent time with my nieces and nephews. Our children are not many adults, but they are watching and they are soaking up information quickly. Like, they have access to so much information instantly, in the palm of their hand, and we're giving it to them younger and younger and younger and younger. It's not like you put your baby in front of a program of your choosing and they just sit there. No, we're actually handing them the tablet, the cell phone, and now they get to learn how to scroll and look for the information that they want to look at, or at least what your search history may have left over after you've been on your phone or been on the tablet. So if your child isn't picking it up from you, you better believe it's coming from somewhere. And whether it be a genetic factor or a habit, characteristics are hereditary. I'll leave you with this to ponder. Throw me to the wolves and I'll come back leading the pack. In my opinion, hereditary is often a term thrown around without much understanding as to what we mean exactly. By adding genetic factors or habits to this objective, I believe it can bring more clarity to conversations discussing our unique characteristics, making us more aware of what we receive as well as what we put out into the universe. Thank you for tuning in to the Tailored Training Podcast. You can find us at tailoredtraining.com. Give us a follow on Instagram at Tailored Training and on Twitter at E_I_motivation. We also have a Facebook group called Tailored Training Coaching. Be sure to join the group for exclusive content posted nowhere else. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tailored Training Media. I am Coach Taylor. As always, everything is motivation, love, light, and peace, y'all. Have a blessed one.